Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Pokemon Emerald. Let's start talking about DC animated movies. So, last episode we talked about uh, my two of my favorite Batman animated movies. However, we didn't talk about my favorite, which is Batman Under the Red Hood. Something's happening and I don't like it. So, Batman Under the Red Hood is probably my favorite Batman animated movie. For those of you who don't know, it stars Batman, Nightwing, and the titular the Red Hood. Now, I really like this movie, mainly because it is one of the first ones I watched, but also it got me interested in the character of Jason Todd and the lore behind Jason Todd. For those of you who don't know, I am going to spoil it. The Red Hood is Jason Todd. He is the second Robin from Batman after Dick Grayson. Is Barboach? I don't think Barboach is a ground type just yet. Pretty sure Barboach evolves into Wishcash. But we have Light right here. Let's go ahead and hit him with a Spark. Get the fuck out of here. Oh. Oh, okay, well, he is ground type. Oh, shit. Magnitude 6? Alright, let's go ahead and get you out of here. Well, then... You know what, Trunch, we'll get in here and handle some business. But anyway, Batman Under the Red Hood. For those of you who don't know, Jensen Ackles, actually, Dean from Supernatural, voices the Red Hood. But it's just a really good movie, in my opinion. You know, a lot of action, a good Batman story, has some deep Batman lore for those of you who like diving into the Batman mythos. Alright. TM-85 contains war, bow bow. Okay. But anyway, alright. So, like I was saying, Batman Under the Red Hood. Um, you know, it's a really good movie. It's my favorite Batman animated movie. But I think what it does good is it shows how Batman can fail. I like it the same reason. I don't know if you guys saw in like 2 episodes ago. I talked about the Batman 2022 with Robert Pattinson, and the reason I loved that movie so much was because Batman fails. I mean, fails in the way that he doesn't stop the Riddler before his plan goes off, and that's what I love most about. I think I like that most about my heroes is seeing my heroes fail, but seeing them come back. With Under the, I'm sorry guys, I'm yawning. With Under the Red Hood, it does a really good job. Oh, it's another Barboach. Okay, let's go ahead and get Punch Bowl here. But what I love, a lot about Under the Red Hood is showing how Batman not only fails the people he's supposed to protect, but he also can fail those who are his closest allies. Now, if you know the actual story of how Jason Todd died in the comics, one could argue that it wasn't really Batman's fault. There's really nothing he could have done. And then you could also argue that there's a lot more he should have done. So, in the original comics, the reason that Jason Todd dies is it it's kind of a long story, but it starts out with Jason Todd doesn't know his mother. He's in well, I can't remember if he doesn't know his mother or he can't. His either way, his mother isn't present and his dad isn't either. In fact, he meets Batman because when Batman parks the Batmobile in an abandoned alley, Jason Todd actually steals the tires off the Batmobile. Um, that's how he meets Batman. He gets adopted and he becomes the second Robin. This is after Dick Grayson has already moved on to Teen Titans. He's taken up the mantle of Nightwing. But and I'm trying to remember it off my head, so forgive me for missing a few details. But anyway, you have adventures with Batman and the new Robin. And not a lot of people like the new Robin. They're not the biggest fan of him. But the story goes that eventually Jason Todd wants to find his mother. Him and Batman get into a big argument over something I can't remember. And Jason Todd goes to try to find his mother. He looks everywhere. He can't really find her. But he does eventually find someone who he thinks is mother. He gets a tip to go look in the Middle East. Batman, in the meanwhile, is actually in the Middle East as well on a separate case, and they went into each other. And then there's a third party in the Middle East, the Joker, and he's currently, I believe he's selling nukes to a terrorist group. Batman and Robin team up. They find out that Jason's mom is... I can't remember. Okay, yeah. So Jason meets his mom. They reconnect, and then Batman has to go off to stop the Joker from doing something. He tells Jason, "Hey, don't go." I think, gosh, I'm trying to remember. Batman has to go do something, and for some reason, the Joker is not where Batman's headed. But he tells Jason, like, "Hey, don't go after the Joker." Because I believe at this point, the Joker had kidnapped Jason's mom. And he was like, "Hey, I have to go take care of this, like, now." Like, I think it's like they're about to set off missiles, the terrorist group, and Batman's like, "Hey, do not go after your mom." He's like, do not engage with the Joker, because, I mean, Batman knows what the Joker could do, and he knows what the Joker will do to Jason when he catches him, if he catches him. Jason doesn't listen to Batman. And that's one of the things that they really emphasize about Jason Todd's character in comparison to the other Robins, except maybe Damian Wayne, is that Jason is very brash. And he's very reckless is a good way to put it. He doesn't necessarily think things through like Dick Grayson or Tim Drake would. He's very much like Damian Wayne. But I think Damian's and Jason's brashness come from two different places. Damian Wayne, his brashness and his recklessness comes from a place of self-confidence. He is so sure of himself that he cannot be beat by anybody. He is better than everybody. That no one is a challenge to him, and he doesn't have to take anything as seriously as other people would. Jason's comes from a place of, I guess you could say, what's the right way to put it? A place of stubbornness. Jason is not patient. Not to be mean, but he is also not the smartest Robin. out there. I think if I had to rank them in terms of intelligence, it would go probably Tim Drake, Dick Grayson, Damian Wayne, and then Jason Todd. Not to say that Jason Todd is stupid, but I'm saying he doesn't. His rashness comes from not thinking things out. He just cannot sit still. He's not patient. And you see that also in the Under the Red Hood movie. Um, Jason gets a lot more angry and violent as he grows up. He doesn't have the same refining that Dick Grayson did. So that kind of just builds into Jason's characterization as a big angry brute who doesn't listen. And when you look at how Jason Todd is portrayed in a lot of media when he's with the Bat family, he's seen as the bruiser of the family. He is usually the biggest one there, he's usually the strongest one there, but he's also usually the most brash one there. And that's kind of just how Jason's character has been since, honestly, since not New 52, since after he was introduced, well, reintroduced after Crisis on Infinite Earths. I believe Jason was actually in the Batman comics before Crisis on Infinite Earths took place, but if I remember correctly, in those comics at that time, he was pretty much just a Dick Grayson clone. He just had a different name. But anyway, got a bit on a tangent. So Jason follows the Joker. He doesn't listen to Batman. Joker catches him, and Joker beats him to death. Well, he beats him with a crowbar, and then the warehouse blows up that he's in. It was actually a really I guess it's not funny per se, but is what kind of catches me off guard is that after after Jason Todd dies and Batman is hunting for the Joker, he can't touch him because the Joker actually, I believe, is a diplomat. I forgot for which country. I can't remember if they make him an Iranian diplomat or an Iraqi diplomat. But he becomes, or I can't even remember if they even named the country. They might not even name the country. They might just say he's a diplomat from a Middle Eastern country of origin, of unknown place. But legally, he can't touch him. And in fact, the U.S. government sends Superman to make sure Batman doesn't touch him. So then you have this Joker who just murdered an actual teenager, a pissed off Batman, and Superman has to stop him. But anyway, I mean, going back to the movie, that's why I like the movie so much, is because it shows how I guess you could say he failed. He failed in keeping Jason protected. I mean, you could say Batman failed Jason the minute he decided to bring him into this, his own. You could say he failed him the minute he decided to bring him into everything. Which a lot of people's argument as to the otherwise is that Jason Todd was living on the streets. I mean, one could argue that flying above the streets trying to keep them safe is better than having to live on them and survive. Which is an argument that a lot of people make for a lot of the Robins, is that Batman kind of ruined their life by bringing them into the fold. But I mean, what a lot of people don't understand is that, I mean, what I feel a lot of people don't really get is that I think each of the Robins' lives would have been worse if Batman hadn't intervened. Now, I mean, maybe you could argue uh, that Tim, I mean, not Tim Drake, well, Tim Drake is a whole other story that we can talk about. But you could maybe argue that Dick Grayson's life wouldn't have been so bad. Um, because hopefully he would have eventually got over the death of his parents. But Jason and Damian, oh, absolutely. I mean, it had Batman not intervened and took them in, then I think, I mean, they would have had, their lives probably would have been for the worse. Jason would have been living on the streets, and who knows what would happen. I mean, he might have been like his dad and become like a two-bit thug who works for one of the big supervillains. And Damian, I mean, if he hadn't been taken in by Batman, he would have eventually just rose up to become the leader of the League of Shadows. I want to at least get to. I want to at least get to the entrance of Harbor Falls before this episode ends. Gonna probably be skipping a bunch of these battles in the grass. I think my Pokemon are pretty adequately leveled for everything. Oh, let's see what's behind this rock. But I said that Tim Drake was a totally different story. The only reason is because Tim Drake chose to be Robin. He saw how Batman was acting without a Robin, and first he approached Dick Grayson, was like, hey, you need to come back and be Robin. And Dick Grayson was like, you're fucking crazy if you think I'm doing that. But but afterwards, eventually, Tim Drake's like, all right, I will become the next Robin, and he does. I mean, he proves himself to Batman, and he becomes the next Robin. But it's actually interesting because he is the first Robin to not have been adopted by Batman, by Bruce Wayne. He doesn't even live with Bruce Wayne yet. He lives with his dad. I forgot what his dad's name was. Was it Dylan Drake? Let me look it up. Let's see. Jack Drake. He lives with his dad until his dad is killed by Digger Harkness, the Captain Boomerang. And that happens in a very controversial comic called Identity Crisis. I like Identity Crisis. I like some parts of it. There are some story elements in it that I'm not the biggest fan of. I think it's it makes me feel a little uncomfortable. I'm sure if you guys have read the story, you know which parts I'm talking about. But I do think that because of the situation that happens in Identity Crisis, performed by the villain Dr. Light, on an unfortunate person. Um, I think because of what happens, uh, I think it brings up an interesting question that the superheroes have to deal with: is what what do we do now that this villain has discovered our identities? What happens if he comes after our families? I mean, sure, it's easy to have a a moral dilemma about what you should and shouldn't do as superheroes when you're wearing a mask. But I mean, can you have that same moral upstanding when the supervillain has a gun pointed against your family member's head? It's easy for you to be like, I will not harm my supervillains when you have that barrier that's protecting you. And I think we've seen a bunch of superheroes kind of have to juggle that, especially we'll get back to Identity Crisis. I promise we're not losing focus, which we might have already lost focus because this whole thing started about talking about about Batman Under the Red Hood. But one person who has more upstanding, I won't kill my supervillains. I won't, do cruel or unusual punishment in Spider-Man. However, even Spider-Man has a limit. Especially, you can see this in the, I guess you could say, during Civil War story arc, the Back in Black Spider-Man comic, where Aunt May gets shot by an assassin sent by the Kingpin, and Spider-Man dons the black suit and he makes Kingpin pay. He was almost about to kill him. But going back to Identity Crisis, what happens is after the triggering incident, um, the superheroes have to kind of have a discussion. They're like, well, what do we do? This person knows like our identities now. What happens if he comes after someone else we care about? And here's the issue I kind of run into is that they aren't talking about killing him. They're talking about having Zatara use her magic to kind of maybe muddle his mind a little bit, fudge a couple of the details in his head. Um, and in some superhero terms, they kind of make Doctor Light stupid, a bumbling idiot. But the question that's raised is that okay? I mean, it's not the same lines as killing your supervillain, but you are changing the brain. You're changing the head. Which I guess it's different. I know the argument that a lot of people would have against it is that, well, I mean, you're telling me these superheroes are okay with like possibly physically disabling a person for the rest of their life, um, but they're not okay with just messing with their mind a little bit. Which I mean, I don't know. I've never seen a comic where the hero beats. I know the popular joke is that Batman beats people up so bad that they might as well be disabled. But I myself have never seen that comic. Well, I mean, I myself have never seen a comic where a bad guy gets beat so bad that they are physically disabled. Now, my whole opinion on it, and I don't necessarily know if it's Actually, I don't know if it's really. I mean, my whole opinion is that I guess if you are, I would be okay with magically induced amnesia, like oh, when the supervillain wakes up, they won't remember our identities, or they won't remember like the last day. I'm fine with that. What they did was they basically changed his personality. They lobotomized him. It's different to take someone's memories from them, memories of them committing a horrible accident. I think, I mean, not an accident, a horrible like atrocity. I think that's okay. I would die on that hill all day long. It's like, yeah, that's fine. I mean, you're taking memories from them of information they shouldn't even have in the first place. But I mean, what the Justice League did was they changed his mind. They changed the man. They Dana gave him a lobotomy, and at least according to how Wally West describes fighting Doctor Light, he's like, yeah, but he's a bumbling idiot. They took this man from a genius to basically an idiot that inexperienced teenagers could handle. So, I mean, I think an argument could be made there. It's like, okay, it's okay to take the memory, but when you're changing the mind, that's what's different. That's where the issue itself lies. It's Team Magma. More like Team Sugma. Sugma? Sugma? I'm not gonna say. Oh, Team Aqua. Alright. Oh. I've only ever really played Ruby. So Magma's always the bad guys. Looks like they're kind of well. I guess in in both of these games, they're both the bad guys. I mean, bad guys is subjective. I mean, Team Magma wants to expand the land so that way more people have more area to live. Team Aqua wants to expand the ocean so more Pokemon have places to live. Oh, any good Pokemon in here? I don't think so, buddy. I am so mad that Solrock and Lunatone did not have a bigger role in Pokemon Sun and Moon. Like, come on, you have a Sun and Moon Pokemon already. Do something with them. Freaking Zubat. I don't know if I want to catch it yet. I don't think so. I was like, do I want a Crobat? I've always wanted a Crobat, but I never did. Well, now I can go back to Mount Chimney, which let's go ahead and hit the Fall Arbor Town. Alright. Well, guys, I think we're going to call it an episode here. I hope you enjoyed my ranting and raving about comics for the last 30 minutes almost. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Hope you guys enjoyed the Pokemon gameplay. I hope everybody's having a great week so far. Hope the weather's getting colder for you guys. And don't forget, we do have the spooky season coming upon us. If there are any horror games you want to see me play, make sure you give me a comment. Reply to the community. Well, I think you can reply to the community post. Reply to the community post. Tell me any horror games you want to play or you want to see me play. and I'll put it on the channel. I hope you guys have a great day, and I will see y'all next time. Bye.